It's time to speak about the country cards now. Country cards are essential to the game. It basically gives you diplomatic action and lots of income to fight the war, because the agricultural points, these green points, and the industry that you have, particularly as the war goes on, and you get less and less because you multiply it by that depreciation factor, purple there below, you get less money. So you really need foreign aid to conduct the war to be able to purchase the units on the calendar. What the country cards allow you to do is to roll the dice to get foreign aid, and then you follow this formula here, which I will explain. You can trade mining rights that you have, and you can even bring the country into war under certain conditions, where the black cube is there. And whenever you use a country card for any purpose, if there's a black cube on the foreign aid box there, if there's a black cube there, you have to remove it. So I'll explain how that works by exemplifying with each card. While credit and finance and resources can be used at any time, if you use the resources, you have to put that little cube into closed. Whatever is shiny, the gold or these mines there, represent mining rights. They can only be used through country cards, usually. Sometimes through events, but that's extra. So for example, the Portugal card allows you to roll a d12 for aid or to trade a mine. It's one or the other. If you want to trade one of these mines, basically this is for the blue player. So any mine that is silver, which represents zinc and pyrites, those here, you can trade one of them. To take this off and you get 10 points here. Now that will never be able, you'll never be able to put that back. So basically you do this if you are really out of money, usually closer to the end of the war, and you're in a desperate situation where you need to conduct battles and you just need to sell off your resources to do so. That's what Franco did when he was attacking towards Barcelona in Catalonia, his great offensive here. He sold off a whole bunch of mining rights in the north of Spain to Germany. So here you do that, or you roll the d12. Now when you roll a d12, 1 dice or 2 6 dice here, the score here is 9, has to be superior than that number. So because you got a 9, you can use it. If it was under 8 or under, if it was 8, you could still use it. If it was under 8, 7 or under, then you wouldn't be able to count. So it would be basically for nothing. You would lose the opportunity to use this card because you play the card and you'd get nothing. This way, here you get a 9, and what happens is you now multiply this 9 by the number of open convoys for that country. Portugal only has this one here. So you multiply it by that and the borders. The border value is if you have at least one of these open, which is the case, this one here is closed, but if you have the other ones open, as long as you have any open border, that counts as 1. So 1 plus 1 convoy is 2. So you multiply the 9 by 2 and it gives you 18. And you would put 18 points there. This Germany card is perhaps the best foreign aid card. It allows you to trade off 2 copper and mercury mines or 3 zinc and pyrite mines, plus get a credit, plus deploy the Condor Legion. This can be particularly important early in the game because Germany has not joined in helping, not joined the war, but not joined in helping right away. If for whatever reason they're delayed or they're joining in later, this allows you to pretty much get a lot of money by trading off, for example, this mine in the north here, 2 of these, this one plus this one, although this one is not blue, so you wouldn't be able to. That's 30. It's a lot of money. But more importantly, the Rio Tinto mines, which was a British company, and they're over here near Seville. As long as you hold Seville, which is usually the case, that is 100 points right there. Very powerful. Plus 3 of these, 3 of the silver-colored mines, which represent zinc and pyrites. So you can do that, plus get 25 credits, and deploy the Condor Legion. That includes the tanks, if they're not deployed yet, the artillery, and the land component of that as well. So whether the deployment is not made, if you were to get this card and play it right on turn number 1, which is before you, that means you could deploy all that before even turn number 2, which is October, December comes around. So you get a definite advantage to, to conduct your strategy. You can also get aids, in this case 40, and you have to get 20 or over. See, in this case, you would have gotten 8 plus 3, 11. And 11 is below that score, so that means that's it. You wasted the card and you wouldn't be able. But usually, you can roll well above that. 20 plus 14, 34. So it's above that. That means you can collect 34 times open border is 1. Open convoy here, 1, 2, and 3. So 34 times 4, a lot of money. You can collect that right away, replenish, put it in the resources, and so on. Germany also goes to war on the 19 and the 20. So if they have an incident that because their convoy is interrupted, whether it's interrupted now or it has been interrupted on a previous turn, but there is a black cube here. Provided there's a black cube there on the incidents, you can roll for war, and you roll, if they get anything 19 to 20, then usually that's difficult to do, right? But if they do get in, Germany is in war officially, and what that gives you is you're able to bring the one full German army, very powerful, 6 CF there, plus 2 tank corps. The famous Panzers are now in action, very powerful, and they're commanded by General Reich. Now, this general historically fought in the Moscow front in 1941, and he died, I think it was late 1941, he died of a heart attack after Hitler yelled at him. He would have been a good choice, this is all hypothetical, to command the German forces. Of course, the Germans have the Condor Legion, but these are now, if they're officially at war, you have the little government symbol there, that means, and they have the green triangle. So if they enter the war like any other country, any country that enters the war, you take the units that are there for that, you put them on the any turn box there, and on the next turn, you'll be able to deploy them. The green triangle means that if they are destroyed, you do not have to put them there. You put them directly here, so they only stay 1 turn out of the game, and you could redeploy them right away. Pay for them, but redeploy them. Germany does have a condition, the asterisk there, so anytime you see a little asterisk anywhere in the game, you go and find out where that is. You go to the quick reference booklet, foreign intervention, and it says that it will not fight against, just like Italy, it will not fight against UK or USA. So these could be in the war, but the Germans will not fight those countries. The other German card, Adolf Hitler, the aid, everything is the same exactly. Aid 40, 40 dice roll, joining the war, the same conditions. The only thing here is that you can trade off the Rio Tinto. And in this particular case, if you do trade off the Rio Tinto mines for money, you get 100, but you will have to put an incident on the UK red. It's difficult to have an incident on the UK red here, but basically this means that the United Kingdom, this was mines that are owned by the United Kingdom, British companies. They'll get so upset that it's an international incident, and it's a way to try to bring Britain into the war, although that's still a long shot. Anyway, you can do that with this card. Trade off the Rio Tinto. The Italy card, you have 2 of those. You have one that says Italy and one that says Benito Mussolini, and one of the cards allow you to trade 3 of the zinc and pyrite mines, and the rule for that is, again, it has to be near a city that you own or near a city that you've taken, which is now yours, like this one here. As long as it's there, you could trade 3 of those, and you get 25 credits. So you would, whatever that is, most of them are 10, some of them could be 5, but you trade off, let's just say it would be 30 because 3 of these, trade them off, right? And then you still get an increase of credit by 25. So that's pretty good. The other thing you can do is to roll for aid. This time you roll a 60. So you would roll 2 20s, for example, and 2 10s to get your 60. And again, it has to be superior to what it says there, 20. Italy has a 20, so as long as it's above 20, you can count on the roll. 20 or above, that is. Here you have 32, which means since it is above, equal or above to 20, you can now multiply that 32 by the open convoys plus the border factor. Since the borders are open, that's 1, and now we're going to count the convoys. There's nothing in the north that's red anyway. Here we have no Italian convoys. We have one here, so that there's one here that's free, and we have another here, but this is not free. It has been intercepted, so this one cannot count because the Republicans have a unit there. And you have another one here, which comes from over there. That's a repeat. It's the same unit. Now, I will say this. If this city was still red and had not fallen, Malaga, then this wouldn't count because this is going into a Republican city. So this doesn't count. This would have to go through there, and that's what that means. But if both of these cities are open, this one, Cadiz and Malaga, then that means you have an Italian convoy going into there and one going into there. This one is blocked, but this one is open. So you have 1, 2, plus the open border, so that's 3. So you times your 32 dice roll times 3, and that gives you an impressive 96. And you can collect that. Now you're not going to put it all here, so what you do is you collect 75 in tokens. And there's 21 left, which you can put here. Another thing is, because you used the Italy card for that purpose, then if there is a black cube there, you remove it. So whenever you use this card, if the black cube is there, you remove it. The black cube is basically, there's an incident that happened, but once you start using the card, you remove the black cube. You can also use that to bring Italy into war. If there is a black cube there and you decided not to use the aid, not to use the mines and credits, and you just want to roll and try to bring Italy fully into the war, then you must, the condition is a black cube has to be there. And the black cube was put there just because, either because of events or because anytime any of the units of the country are intercepted by the enemy, then it creates an incident, which makes Italy eligible to enter the war. 15 or 16, you roll a d20, and if you get 15 or 16, it goes into war. But there's a little asterisk there, and we have to check what that means. Italy will not fight units from UK or USA. So just in case the United Kingdom or United States have joined the war, which is extremely rare, that never happened to me, Italy can fight everybody except them. But that does not stop you from rolling, so let's just see. So they got a 6. They cannot go into the war. So it's difficult for this to happen. They would have to roll a 15 or a 16. When the country does go to war, you put that there for any of this, or of course the red ones there. If the country goes to war, so that way you know, and you don't need to use these anymore because it's already at war. What happens is that you are able to deploy any Italian units that are here right away. You put them on the next turn for the next time deployment. These armies become now not the CTV, but you flip them over and they become the Royal Italian Army. And they have a green triangle, which means that anytime they're destroyed, they are not put here and you have to wait many months, but they are put straight away to the next turn, which means that you can deploy them on the next one. Also, at the end of each turn, you are able to, during the economy turn, the economy phase of the turn, at the end, you are able to roll 20 dice and then just multiply it. You don't have to roll a separate dice, a special dice, and have this, it has to be above this. You just plain outright roll a single 20 that's there and multiply it by the open convoys. Mussolini's card is similar. You can use the aid 60 to roll for aid, or if it's got a black cube, roll for the war, or you could simply trade off 2 gold reserve cubes. 90% of the time, the gold reserve will always belong to the Republic, but there is a chance at the beginning of the game that if you have captured Madrid right away off on the onset, then those gold reserves will pass to you. But that's like probably a 5% chance or something for that to happen. Anyway, it is a possibility that the Nationalists did capture the gold reserves before they were shipped off to Moscow. So yeah, so if that's the case, this will allow you to trade whatever you have. So I've mentioned the fascist allies here. I'm going to leave these ones till the end. I'm going to mention them together with the Reds, the neutral countries. Now I'm going to go on and mention the allies of the Republic. Mexico is one of the more reliable allies. They were really into helping the Spanish Republic, and that's why most countries need 2 points to get the war. These can use 3 points, 7 to 9. And if they join the war, they'll be very happy to organize a revolutionary army. Mexico had just had a revolutionary government just over a decade ago, and so they're very sympathetic. So they have the army here officially, commanded by one of the heroes of their own revolution, General Charis. Not a lot of strength, but that's what they can contribute, and it's still always a green triangle for countries officially at war. You put them in the next unit if they get destroyed, the next turn if they get destroyed, so they can always go back easily into the game. Other than that, Mexico will give aid on a 20, so you roll a 20, and if you get 5 or over, then they will provide aid. Not a lot of money, as you can see. Italy rolls 60, and then you has to be 20 or over on that roll. Germany can roll a 40. Mexico only rolls a 20, but it is easily done. You know, all they have to have is at least a 5 or over, and they'll send that money through. The other Mexican card is the same. There's nothing to be traded here, so they can get the aid or go into the war, and that's the President Lázaro Cárdenas. And the France card allows you to roll a D30 for help, and they were a little bit more on the fence, so it's a 50-50 chance. You have to get 15 or over in order to use that roll of the D30 dice to get your help. And once again, for example, D30, you get 18. It's over that, so that's fine. So you use that 18 and you multiply it by the border is 1, and then by convoys you got 1, 2. So as long as the convoys are open and you don't have enemy ships closing it, and in this case it would just be 1 plus 1, 2 convoys, 3, times it by 3, and then you get that aid in return. So 18 times 3. You can also trade 2 of these if you own them, if they're in your property, the Reds, 2 of those, plus 3 of these, so it's quite generous. Trade them off. And once again, you only want to do that if you really need to, because you don't want to give away it's only if you don't have anything there, you've already have all your gold gone. The times that I did that in the game was because Barcelona was under attack and I wanted to fight and live another day. It was probably closer to March 1939 or even the summer of 1939. The war is going very badly, or earlier, and I don't have a lot left, and I just want to sell that and defend that zone there. So you want to avoid that, but that's it. You have to pick one of those. You pick either the 3 zinc and pyrite, or you pick 2 copper and mercury, and you sell them to France. The other French card will allow you the same thing, aid at 30 dice roll, and you can trade 1 gold cube if you have it, 1 single gold cube, and this is historically accurate. Some of the French gold went to France, a little bit, I think it was about 20%. The rest went to the Soviet Union, and keep in mind that Spain in general had the largest gold, the 4th largest gold reserve in the world at the time. So it's a lot of, that's how they could fight this war for a long time, the Republic. The Nationalists fought on credit mostly and foreign aid, but the Republicans fought on hard collateral of their gold reserves. That's why if you lose the gold reserves at the beginning, you might as well just surrender. Anyway, If they trade this gold reserve, they will get 50, which is what each cube is worth. And they will also get the deployment of this little unit of the French Foreign Legion if they roll a D2. It's all on the instructions and the card. So you trade this, and then you roll a D2, and you deploy these on 2. On the 2, you're able to put this anywhere you want, basically. For France to go to war, one of the rare situations where both cards are different. Here, they'll go to war on a 4 and a 5, if you roll a 4 and a 5 on the 20. So as always, for the war, you roll a 20 and it's 4 or 5. And on this card, it's only if you get a 5. So it's less of a chance. And that's because France really didn't want to fight anybody. They were very afraid of Germany. They have a little asterisk there, which reads this. On a 4 and a 5 roll, they will join only if Germany has not joined. On the 6 roll, if Germany has already joined. So if Germany has joined the war, the only way France can join the war is by rolling a 6. If Germany has not joined the war officially, they can join the war if they roll a 5 or a 4 or a 5. And if they join, you can place the French Foreign Legion in Morocco, right here. There's only one real transit point, so you could take one of these cities, place it in Morocco here. That means they took over that area there. And you can place this army on the any turn. And that army will be commanded by General George. I forgot who he was. You could look him up. Undoubtedly somebody from World War I. So there's also a French tank corps that you can put in there. Not as powerful as the Germans. Now for the pièce de résistance of the Republic, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. You can roll a D40 for their foreign aid. Italy, remember, it's a D60 and Germany is a D40. And the reason for that is that the Soviets were not really interested in too much help unless they were being paid. They didn't really want war with Hitler either. So you can roll this. This would be a 20. And indeed, if it's a 20 or over, you would remove this because you're using the card for that purpose. You play the 20 or over, you're able to use that against open borders. 1, 2, 3, 4. So they have 3 of those and they have an open border. 20 times 4, that's 80 that you would receive in tokens and finance. And remember, I reiterate that whenever you use this card, any country card, if the country has a black cube, you must remove it. And then the only way the country is going to get a black cube again of incidents is if is through events, or if any of its convoys is blocked by the enemy. In that case, they get a black cube as well, right? So in that case, that you can use the war card. War unrolling the D20 and you get 1 or 2. So you have to get a 1 or a 2. The 1 and 2 applies if Germany has not joined the war. And if Germany has already joined, they will only go to war if they get a 3. For the war, the Soviets can count on their army there. They already have tanks in the game from before. That's always been there. From the beginning of the game, whether they're at war or not, they've been helping the Republic with these. So they're just getting the army. They already have 2 tank units. They already have tank units, and it's being commanded by General Vatutin, who was instrumental in World War II a few years later. Now remember that these armies not only they have the green triangle and they're put in the any turn box here, so they can go anytime, but also they have a reinforcement factor usually of 3 in most armies, not Mexico's, but for example the Soviets do, the Germans as well. They can be reinforced with 2 extra layers here, so that's pretty good. Other ways to use the Soviet cards. You can use sell off 2 of the gold reserve cubes. If you do that instantly, sell 2 of these off. You can sell 1 or 2, it's up to you, but up to 2 is the maximum, and that's 50 points each. And when you do that with this card, you can deploy 1 communist regular army unit. Here, for example, there's one. You can take this ahead of time and deploy that. This is the Army of the Ebro on the east, as long as you deploy it in the east zone here. So that's what that allows you to do. It's basically you're giving them their gold and they're helping you indoctrinate your men, training your men, bringing Soviet officers. And of course, 1937 onwards, there was already a heavy influence of communist military, Soviet, in the Republican ranks. The other card is Stalin, and in this case, it's 1 gold that you can trade off, not 2, just 1. But on the other hand, you can get plus 50 credit if you do that, if you trade that off, and you roll a D3, and on that you can put 3 anarchist units on the any turn. So for example, you trade off the golds, you get the credits, and you roll this baby, and 3. You're able to put up to 3 anarchist units, perhaps previously destroyed, and you could place them on the any turn so that the next time that the turn starts and you're deploying, you can deploy them right away. Now I'm going to address the neutral countries, Great Britain and United States. These can support, as indeed their convoys support both sides. You can see an American convoy here, for example, usually going into Lisbon, and up there you have 2, and you have a single American convoy supporting the Republic, which means that when you roll that dice for foreign aid, there's always a greater chance for the nationalists to get aid from America than there is for the Republic. America or United Kingdom, they support both sides. There's 1 American card for the Blues, 1 American card for the Reds, and then there is 1 British card for the Reds and 1 for the Blue. Let's look at the Reds first. The United States will go into war only on the 11. So they would hardly go to war to support the Republic. That would be very rare. And furthermore, if you see the asterisk, they will not join if Germany or Italy have already joined officially. If either of those countries have joined, they will not go into the war. And if they had joined earlier and now Italy joins later, they're not going to fight German or Italian existing units. They will also not join the opposing side of the UK. So let's just say the United Kingdom is at war as well against the Republic on the nationalist side, and now the Republicans want to, they can't roll for war because the United States will not fight on the side that is opposing the British side. And if by any miracle the British were fighting here, then you would not be able to use this card, because they would not be fighting against that side. So that's what the asterisk means there. And the same goes for the UK. The UK will fight if it gets a 12 score out of 20, and it will not fight if Germany or Italy have joined, and it will not fight existing German and Italian units if they join later, and it will not fight the United States. So the same conditions exactly. Furthermore, you'll see that this too is more on the side of the nationalists, because the foreign aid for the United States is a D30 for the nationalists, but it is a D20 for the Republic. So the Republic gets less aid. Both results have to be, if you get a D30, it's only a 50-50 chance that you're going to get above 15. So then you get a D, like just say a D25, and then you times that by the number of convoys, which is 1, 2, plus the border factor, and so forth. But on the Republican side, it's a D20, so it's harder to make that work. You have to get, if you get 14 or under, you won't be able to use that. Same principle applies to the United Kingdom. A little bit less money. It's like Mexico and Portugal. Not a lot of aid one way or the other, but it is a D20 for the nationalists and only a D12. They really didn't like the Republic that much. It was a conservative government in power. A D12 for the Republic. So don't bother usually, unless you really have no other choice, rolling a D12 to see if you get 8, and you have to get, if you get 9 or under, then you won't be able to get anything. So it's a bit of a long shot. War only on the 12 for both situations, and I've already explained what it was. If the Anglo-Saxons join the war, the British Expeditionary Force comes in with a tank corps there under General Gort. And for our American friends, We have an army prepared with also a tank corps, and they are under General Leslie McNair. Now notice that if the Americans are joining the war on the Republican side, you use this. If they are joining on the Nationalists, you use the blue. The same goes for the British. In this one, you can, for the Nationalists, you can trade off copper and mercury mines. You can trade off 3 zinc and pyrite mines, one or the other, either one of these or 3 of these. And then you can get 25 credit if you do that. For the United Kingdom, supporting the Republicans, you get, you can only do this. You can only trade 2 of these and you don't get anything for it other than the money that they're worth. For the Americans, it's a little bit better. They were more into trading and they had, you know, more interest here. So for the Nationalists, you can trade off 3 zinc and pyrite mines. And also it will allow you to remove all your yellow cubes. It's just an easy way to supply your army before the next turn, or even before the next round. So remove all your yellow cubes. That's just a reflection of the trucks that they sent Franco, thousands of trucks. Some historians say that without American trucks, Franco couldn't have won the war. So you remove yellow cubes and you trade these. For the Republicans, the conditions are similar, except there's nothing. You can trade off 3 of those, but there's no yellow cubes to remove. So there you go. And let me remind you once again that if a country is at war, at the end of the turn when you're doing the economy, what you do is you roll a d20 for that country. For example, for Italy, or a d20 for Germany, 12 for Britain and so forth, Soviet Union 20. If any of these countries are at war, you will roll that at the end of the turn and multiply it by the availability of convoys and borders. So it's an extra way to get finance at the end. Usually you can only get financed in foreign aid through the turns when you get cards, but if the country's at war, it's a little extra bonus. And you don't have to get any special rolls. Basically, you roll what it says there. You roll a d20 and you get what you use the formula here and follow it. In the older rules, I had if Italy Italy would be providing 30. Italy would be providing an amount at the end of each turn, but you can use those rules if you want, if you have one of the older editions. But if not, we'll stick with the new rules that say that you roll this dice here and you multiply it by the formula to get your finance. And that is your country cards. And once again, they can be used for what I showed you just now, or you can use them, the numbers, instead of using any of their country qualities, you just use the numbers for either land or naval action points that you need.